Alright folks, now disclaimer first, this vehicle is only for the Russian server for now, so the title of the video as well as the thumbnail should not be that misleading, I hope. But don't get your panties in a twist, there's nothing to talk about. Let's take a look at Turchaninov KV-4, Premium Tier 8 Russian heavy tank. So there were actually about 10 plus different versions of a KV-4, all competing with one another to replace the KV-1, the KV-2s, but ultimately they went with the IS tanks because these were too slow to be effective. But this version is actually more conventional, like a regular tank, compared to some of the double turrets or hatchback or tank destroyer, quote unquote, superstructure in the back designs. They replaced the DT machine gun in the bow with a 37mm. That's kinda interesting. So conventional design, like a larger KV-3-esque of a shape, but also like a 𝗪𝗧𝗕𝗋𝗆's KV-4. We have a bunch already. We already have 3. 𝗪𝗧𝗕𝗋𝗆's, Moskvin, which is the regular KV-4, and the KTTS, which is a tank destroyer, quote unquote. But this vehicle actually has a auto-reloader. Obviously kind of fake, but whatever. So still fitting 2 loaders in the turret, but having the auto-reloader system like the KV-1SA, except it's a 107? So the damage output with a 3-round burst of the auto-reloader is pretty good for a tier 8. It's about 1000 or 960. So that's fairly hefty. And the first round reloads just as fast as the fastest reload as a KV-4, supposedly, without the rammer. But that's pretty interesting. Well, pretty devastating to a tier 7 or tier 6, but it's a KV-4 design. You already seen enough of this, but conventional standard KV-4s, there were a bunch. So it's actually on top of this article. I'll post a link in the description, but Turchaninov KV-4, Object 224, there were a bunch of versions, but yeah, this is the standard, basic. Yeah, KV-3 mock-up. They moved the turret in the back, elongated the hull, and practically have a bigger gun, or the same gun, the 107. Huh? Is it the same gun or modify of the same gun? This is the tech tree version, the Moskvin KV-4. But you can go through this article. There were some interesting designs like hatchbacks, but like this one, it's a little hatchback, the 𝗪𝗰𝗵. Alright, but turret in the back, more like a superstructure thing. So there were a bunch of different designs, some with double turrets, some with multiple cupolas. Yeah, other stuff to work with, double turrets. And like the KTTS, some were like a tank destroyer, more or less. Some were looking like a KV-6, so that's a fake tank, but okay. So you can go through the list. There are a bunch of few interesting ones. So this one kind of looks like the Moskvin, a little bit different, but yeah, you can go through this article. So let's take a look at the stats on this thing, but looks like a larger KV-3 than a KV-4 at tier 8, but has an auto reloader. It's Russian, so obviously you gotta have a Russian tank. KV-4T for Turchaninov, but let's take a look at the main stats. So firepower wise, same old penetration for the 107 as well as the Alpha. Accuracy is not bad, aim time is not bad, gun depression 6 degrees, which is actually not bad for a Russian. But first round is the fastest, last round is the slowest, takes about 31 seconds for all 3 rounds, 3 rounds in the clip, 3 seconds between each shot. DPM is not bad for an auto reloader, especially at tier 8, so 2350. Without a rammer, that is quite good, but compare this to the regular Moskvin KV-4. With a rammer, it's about the same DPM without the rammer. Accuracy is also fairly decent, surprisingly. You would think this thing is a slow, lumbering, inaccurate piece of crap, but this gun is actually pretty decent for a heavy tank gun, even though it doesn't have the punching power of the Alpha. It's still fairly reliable. Interesting. So shell velocity is actually not bad for AP, as APCR, gold shell. Gold shell might struggle against tier 10s like a 𝗪𝗧 or E100, but aim for weak spots. High explosive is high explosive, but it is a KV-4. It is a KV Fortress. 180 at the hull front, 150 at the sides, and the turret front is 210. Now it is rounded compared. Well, it is rounded, but not that much. It is like with the IS tank, even though they are rounded, but it's only 100 for the freaking turret front. Oh my god, this sucks. Alright, is it better? Oh, it's a little bit better on the IS-2-2. Alright, so it might be like this a little bit. It's thicker. It's a lot thicker than IS turret. Looks like the IS turret, but it's a hell of a lot thicker. So, hull down might be actually worthwhile in this thing. Plus, doesn't look like a cupola on top, so might be pretty strong in terms of hull down. It is not as rounded as the IS-2-2. So you might be able to pin, but it's still good enough for a tier 8. Okay, armor is still pretty good at side scraping. Hull down is actually not half bad, but they did buff the Moskvin KV-4 in terms of armor. I think they buffed the cupola, or last time I think it was 180 on the cupola, but they buffed it to 200 or some 220. Originally it was 180, but holy crap, that's actually not half bad. I thought it was 180 at the front. Now it's 220. Never mind. Haven't played with this thing in a long ass while, but okay. I mean, I'll happily have 220 on the turret front, especially for the cupola, but that's more like a double turret, a smaller mini turret on top of the regular turret than a cupola, but whatever. So mobility wise, it's slow. That's good enough, but 26 compared to about 30 on the KV-4 Moskvin on this vehicle. So horsepower per ton ratio is not great, top speed is not great, hull traverse not great, but it is a big lumbering beast. Weighs about 101 tons. Do not ram this thing. Hell no. Let's see, mobility on this thing is... this thing weighs more. With the same engine, but better top speed. Slower horsepower per ton ratio, but hull traverse is practically the same. It's a big beast. Camo is non-existent. Russian garbage view range, 350. It's standard for tier A Russian heavies. Garbage view range. The gun is interesting. The gun is real interesting, and that's not divisible by 3 for some reason. Alright. The burst damage out of this gun is scary to like low tier vehicles. You're not going off against a KV-4 with a auto reloader. You'll be dead. You know, something of a type. Well, like a KV-2, you'll be dead in the burst, as well as medium tanks, no doubt, and some of the less health tier 8 tank destroyers will be dead in one burst. But it still takes about 31 seconds for the clip, technically, but you can still fire off another shot in 8 seconds after you fire all 3 rounds. So you don't have the disadvantage of the Italian auto reloader. So it's an inverse auto reloader thing. Obviously, I think you will want vents. I put vertical stabilizer on this thing, even though you shouldn't. Technically, you should put like more health, improve hardening, as well as the rammer, maybe turbocharger, but I wonder how bad the stabilization dispersion on the dispersion on the KV-4 sucks while moving. So you have to sit still, but technically you should be poking out with your side scraping and shooting while kind of moving ish. So I don't know, maybe a vertical stabilizer will still be good on the Turchaninov KV-4, maybe. Rammer is definite. Improve hardening for a little bit more health. This thing has less health than the Moskvin KV-4 by 100. And probably vertical stabilizer or turbocharger, depending on which one you pick, or maybe even coated optics. It is a assault heavy tank, similar to the KV-4, but doesn't matter at tier 8. So first one is better terrain resistance or hull traverse or suspension durability. I say better terrain resistance. These things get bogged down pretty easily, so might as well. Accuracy or aim time. both are good. Both are very good. So, yeah, well, aim time might be a little bit worse than the accuracy, but it takes about 3 seconds to load between each round. So I would say better accuracy. You'll have the full time to aim after you fire the first round. So better accuracy. Stun duration or view range. View range, definitely. You stay behind cover. But yeah, definitely more view range. How much would I rate this thing if it comes to the other servers? It's not half bad. I mean, it is a basic fortress bitch of a vehicle, but it'll be hard to kill in a tier 6 unless you flank around. Definitely flank around. They compared it to the auto-reloader on the IS-3, so it has better DPM. It has about 400 more DPM, at least 350 more. And better accuracy, better aim time, better gun depression and elevation. Faster traverse for the turret also. But, oof. It has less alpha, granted, but it has a little bit more health, better armor on the hull. Debatable turret armor, but weighs about twice as much as an IS-3A. Oh god, it's a big beast. IS-3A has that garbage of a horsepower per ton ratio? Really? I thought it was like 13 or something at least. Haven't played with this thing in a while too. Really? That sucks? Oh my word, this thing only has 10.5? Since when? I didn't know I was going to crap on the IS-3A. I mean, the regular IS-3 has 14 horsepower per ton ratio. That's expected. The fuck? Alright, I mean, it's been a long time since I played with the IS-3A or the Peregrine for now, but is it as good as the 𝗪𝗧𝗕𝗋s? Or compared with the oh my god, DPM the 𝗪𝗧𝗕𝗋s sucks! Even without the auto-reloader, it has a rammer and it still sucks. Ah, this is a piece of shit. Also has less armor on the sides too. Oh god. It has better horsepower per ton ratio, granted, and better top speed. I don't need that. I need more armor. I need definitely more armor. It has better accuracy and better aim time than this vehicle. Granted, it has not as good gun depression. 7. Wow, that is interesting. Alright. 𝗪𝗧𝗕𝗋s KV-4 sucks in comparison to this thing. Like, really? This is like a freaking, I would say at least 5.5, maybe a 6. It has no cupola weak spots. It has uniform armor on the hull. The gun's not bad without the rammer. So it's an auto-reloader. It will surprise low tiers. It's at least a 6. What's not to like? I mean, granted, view range sucks. It's Russian, of course. View range sucks, but you're used to it. On the IS-6, on the IS-3As, or IS-3s, KV-4, all of them have about 350. So, what's not to like? I mean, it is Russian server only for now, and you cannot use the BAL 37mm from the picture. Maybe a 50? It doesn't look like it. Looks more like a 37. I don't know. But it doesn't seem that bad. There's no cupola weak spot, even though technically there's not a weak spot on the KV-4 Moskvin with the second mini turret on top. It's 220, but smaller target? I'd say it's at least a 6, especially with the auto reloader against a freaking tier 6. That's pretty good. So there you go, folks. Russian server only, but nothing to talk about. Still kind of interesting. I'll post a link to the actual article on the KV-4s, but I would like to see the double turrets being implemented, but I think Wargaming thinks that system is either broken or too convoluted for the normal pub matches. It's too complex for normal matches, so that's why they haven't implemented a double turret system or even the support guns or stationary battle guns or even the coax on some of the vehicles like the mouse. Not even implemented with the secondary armaments. Not even close. So, oh well. I mean, if you put secondary armaments, then some vehicles will be super, like the Oho or Oni. They have a lot of mini turrets, little boobs in the front, but yeah, double turrets practically. So there you go, folks. Turchaninov KV-4 on the Russian server. But as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.